3 spine-chilling true spring tales. Discover the sinister secrets of the haunted and cursed. Emily stepped outside, enjoying the warmth of the spring evening, but a shiver crept down her spine. Everything about her quiet suburban neighborhood felt off-kilter, like a painting slightly askew. As she gathered the mail, a weathered flyer caught her eye, wedged between the bills. The faded image of a young girl stared back at her, directly into her soul. The girl had been missing for 2 years. Panic burrowed deep within her. On that very day, a strange man had moved in next door, always lurking behind drawn curtains and pulsating lights, his eyes glowing with a malevolence that paralyzed her. That sense of unease thickened like fog rolling in over the water. Neighborhood chatter shifted, laughter turned tense, voices lowered. The air buzzed with whispered rumors of missing persons, threading through open doors but never lingering long enough to gain substance. The din of children playing outside, usually a balm for Emily's weary heart, now twisted into a cacophony of anxiety that left her breathless. It began with flickers. The lights in her home blinked out, then back on, uncertain like her heart. At night, rustlings from the shadows suffocated her sanity. Jake, with his wide, innocent eyes, began sharing tales about his newest friend, next-door stories about the ghost in a basement and the haunted swings at an abandoned park. Each story twisted deeper into her spirit, awakening a dread that clawed at her mind. The children played, oblivious to the doom that loomed over them. But Emily couldn't shake the growing darkness. She was sure the neighborhood was hiding something, and she was determined to uncover it. With every rustle of an anxious leaf, fear took root within her, prompting late-night scavenges through the town's folklore. She sifted through dusty archives like a detective searching for answers in a crypt. Cursed Hollow, a name whispered in the corners of fearful minds, pulsed through her thoughts like a drumbeat, warning her of the invisible dangers lurking beneath mundane lives. Emily confronted the unsettling tales, abandoned basements where screams echoed if you listened closely enough, and parks shunned by frightened families. As she pieced together the history bleached by time, she sensed the grip of something sinister tightening around her home. Shadows stretched further each day, and that thick fog of secrecy tightened around her like a noose, wrapping tighter until it stung. At each turn, the horror escalated. She couldn't escape the eerie occurrences, the pavement cracking beneath her feet, roses blooming with blood-red thorns. A chill wrapped around her, creeping into her very core, a cold whisper of warning echoing through her mind. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The playground lay empty, unnaturally silent, as Emily's heart raced. She found herself outside her neighbor's house, staring at the window shrouded in darkness. The air thickened, a weight born of tension and anticipation wrapped up in her thoughts. Then she saw him, the neighbor, emerging briefly, his gaze piercing through the darkness like a knife. She felt their sinister connection, as though he could sense her fear. With each passing moment, the sinister grip of an unseen force beckoned her deeper, promising realization at the expense of innocence. How far would she be willing to go to protect Jake and Lily? The very fabric of their reality began ripping apart, revealing grotesque secrets. Her heart racing, she faced the unknown lurking in the shadows. The question clung to her, demanding answers. Was she prepared to uncover the horrors that lay hidden within her once peaceful neighborhood? Emily's breath hitched. She felt the weight of unseen eyes upon her, a shiver prickling at the nape of her neck. The neighbor's house loomed, dark and unwelcoming, like a mouth ready to swallow her whole. She took a cautious step forward, thoughts swirling like a maelstrom. The air grew heavier, thick with an oppressive sense of dread. She glanced at the children playing in the distance, their laughter growing faint. Ignorance was a blessing. They knew nothing of the twisted tales of Cursed Hollow. Had they noticed the neighborhood changing, as if each home were a pawn in a game played by darker forces? Swallowing her fear, Emily edged closer. A rustle made her heart leap in her chest. The neighbor's curtains fluttered slightly, and she held her breath. Had he seen her? The bizarre man whose intentions remained veiled in shadows? The flickering light in the basement beckoned, almost hypnotizing in its rhythm. Suddenly, a scream shattered the ambience, a shrill cry from the play area. It was Lily, her daughter, now tangled in a web of confusion as she clutched a tarnished latch, calling out to her mother in terror. Emily's legs moved of their own accord, a frantic dash toward the sound. Her pulse raced as she crossed the threshold from isolation to chaos. As she reached the swings, she found Lily standing frozen, eyes wide, staring at a gnarled tree that loomed nearby. Stretched above them, its branches twisted like skeletal fingers, casting long shadows. It felt alive, watchful, malevolent. Emily knelt beside her, brushing a hand over Lily's hair, trying to shield her from the choking fear suffocating them both. "What's wrong, sweetie?" Emily forced words from her trembling lips. "It's him, Mom." Lily pointed, her voice quaking. "He's in the trees." Heart slamming against her ribcage, Emily turned, scanning the area. But the swings barely creaked in the wind, the laughter had faded into obscurity, leaving silence that clung to her like a second skin. "Calm down, honey. Who's in the trees?" Emily whispered, though her heart raced at the thought. Had she been too late? Was the darkness already reaching for her children? Lily shook her head, whispering, "The man, the one from next door." In a moment of desperation, Emily forced herself to look back at the neighbor's house. Shadows danced behind the glass, shifting in rhythm with the flickering lights. Had he been watching them? The knowledge sat heavy in her gut, an unsettling sensation that ignited a primal instinct to protect. "Let us go home, Lily." "Now," Emily urged, feeling the tug of urgency wrap around her heart. As they turned, the air grew colder, a whispering draft wrapping its icy fingers around her, each step pulling her closer to that grotesque reality, but something stopped her. A chilling sound, soft yet insistent, began to reverberate through the silence. A child's laughter, but wrong, twisted, echoing through the trees. Her heart sank deeper. "Did you hear that?" Emily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Lily's eyes widened. "Mom, it's him. He's calling us." Just then, the ground trembled beneath them, a low, ominous rumble that sent shivers deep into Emily's bones. How could she keep her children safe in a place that felt more like a trap? Panic erupted, and she raced toward home, the cries of the forgotten ringing out behind her. As they fled, a familiar face appeared at the edge of their property, staring with hollow eyes and a grin that stretched uncomfortably wide. It was the new man from next door. "Come out to play, Emily," he beckoned, a softly mocking tone threading through the ominous air. Heart pounding, she grabbed her children tighter, glancing back to see the flickering light from the neighbor's basement grow brighter, pulling her in. What lay ahead? Would she have the strength to face whatever he wanted? The shadows danced, and the game had only just begun. Emily stumbled forward, her pulse pounding in her ears like a war drum. Shadows seemed to snarl and stretch along the ground, twisting and contorting as if to reach for them. The air felt electric, charged with dread and a looming presence. She pulled Lily close, tightening her grip, while her other hand instinctively reached for Toby, her youngest son. "Stay close, don't look back," she whispered harshly, urging them toward the house. Each step felt like a mile, each breath a battle. She dared a fleeting glance over her shoulder. The neighbor's figure remained, still watching, eyes glinting like knives glimmering under the screeching moonlight. A wailing sound erupted from the trees, a sound that clawed at her sanity. It twisted her stomach into knots. It was the laughter again, brittle and wrong, like shattered glass underfoot. What kind of game was this? And why did it feel familiar? "Mommy, I'm scared." Toby whimpered, the innocence in his voice only deepening her terror. "It's okay, baby. We're almost home." Emily tried to sound reassuring, but the words felt hollow and brittle. They broke through the threshold of their yard, but her house suddenly felt like a fragile barrier, hardly enough to keep whatever darkness was pursuing them at bay. As she fumbled with the keys, visions danced across her mind: her neighbor's unsettling smile, the flickering basement light, the rustling of leaves that seemed almost deliberate. Panic clawed at her throat as if the very air conspired against them. "Mommy, look!" Lily cried, her small finger pointing toward the mailbox. A single white envelope sat, stark against the dark wood. Cautiously, Emily reached for it, eyes darting around for creeping shadows. The envelope was cold to the touch. She hesitated a moment, reading the handwriting looped and angular, strikingly familiar. It felt like a ghostly echo from her past, and the name recited inside sent chills racing down her spine. It was her name. She ripped open the envelope, heart hammering. Inside were unsettling messages, each a twisted taunt. "Are you ready to play?" "You should have listened." A loud bang erupted from the neighbor's house, making her jump. The basement light flickered violently before sending out an ominous flicker, casting long shadows that snaked across her yard. She turned to flee but froze in place. The neighbor stood now, directly in front of them, blocking her path. "You shouldn't be scared of me, Emily. I'm just here to help you remember." His voice dripped with a chilling sweetness that sent a shockwave of repulsion through her. "Get away from us!" she shouted, adrenaline fueling her resolve. The children clung tighter, their little hands shaky and trembling. "Remember? Oh, I've been waiting for you to find what you lost," he cooed, tilting his head. The maze of uncertainty unfurled in her mind. What had she lost? Darkness rode into her thoughts, moments that slipped away like sand through her fingers. As Emily moved, her feet felt stuck in place, bound by an unseen force. The laughter echoed again, growing louder. Figures began to form within the shadows: children, faces twisted in horror, pointing toward her. "Mommy!" Toby cried, his voice breaking. "Run!" she barked, finally breaking free of the fog wrapping around her. She gathered her children, bolting toward their front door, teeth rattling, heart racing. The darkness loomed, a living entity feeding off their fear as she fumbled with the door latch, praying it would open. It felt like an eternity. Then, the door swung open, an escape. But as she passed through, something cold and slimy brushed against her ankle, a sibilant whisper clear as day: "You can't escape your past." The door slammed shut behind them with a resounding thud, sealing away the horror, but Emily knew deep down that fight was far from over. What had the past buried in shadows? And what reality awaited them within those four walls? Emily leaned against the closed door, heart racing and breath coming in short gasps. Her eyes darted around the dimly lit living room, shadows flickering near the edges where the light didn't quite touch. The children nestled against her, their small bodies quaking with fear. "Mommy?" Lily whispered, her voice small and trembling. "Yes, honey?" Emily replied, forcing her voice to stay steady. "Why do we feel like we're still outside?" That question sent a new wave of unease rippling through Emily. She glanced around, as if the walls might suddenly melt away, revealing the dark void they'd narrowly escaped. "We're safe now," she reassured them, though uncertainty churned in her gut. The wailing echo of laughter still floated through the air, mingling with the silence of the house. She wished the front door were a true barrier against whatever was lurking outside. Gripping the children tighter, she turned her focus inward, willing her mind to settle. "Let's check the windows," she said, voice breaking the uneasy quiet. She ushered them through the darkened hallway, clutching a flickering candle as their only source of light. Each step felt heavy, soaked in dread. The living room window offered a limited view of the yard, but it drew Emily like a magnet. She stepped forward, pressing her forehead against the cold glass. The neighbor's house stood just within sight, both an eyesore and a threat. The basement light was still flickering, a frantic dance mimicking her racing heart. "Mommy!" Toby gasped, pointing toward the yard. She turned swiftly to see a figure standing at the tree line, shrouded in shadows. The neighbor's silhouette was undeniable. He stretched his arms wide as if inviting them. "Do you see him?" Lily asked, eyes wide, filled with a mix of terror and curiosity. "Yes, stay back," Emily instructed, but the command felt weak. The laughter streamed through the window again, mocking, and Emily felt a chill shoot down her spine. She stepped back from the window, eyes bouncing between her children. What had that man meant by helping her remember? "No," she muttered to herself, shaking her head as if to dispel the thoughts. "I can't think like that." Then, a noise sliced through the silence, the unmistakable creak of wood from the basement. The flickering light grew erratic, casting wild shadows across the walls, alive and throbbing with menace. "Mommy, it's the basement," Toby whimpered, his little voice quaking with fear. Emily raised a finger to her lips, signaling quiet to the children. She moved toward the basement door, her heart pounding so hard it felt like it might burst. The door was slightly ajar, and the hesitant, soft sound of footsteps echoed up the stairs. Thud. Thud. Thud, each step felt as if it were pushing against the very fabric of her sanity. She glanced back, seeing the children cower against the far wall, eyes wide, reflecting the flickering candlelight. "Stay here," she whispered, even as she felt the thrill of panic starting to tighten around her. Dreadfully drawn to the sound, she creaked the door open a fraction, heart racing as the smell of damp earth and something rancid filled her nostrils. What awaited her below was a weight pressing against her chest, urging her to retreat. Yet, she had to know. "Hello?" Emily called into the murky darkness, voice wavering. No answer, just the heavy, suffocating silence of the basement. But then, the laughter returned, louder and closer, filling the space with a mocking presence. Emily stumbled back, heart hammering in her throat. "Mommy!" Lily shrieked, and that single call became her undoing. Everything crumbled. She dashed back to the children, pulling them close, adrenaline surging like a wild river. "We need to go. We can't stay here." The basement door swung wide open, and a rush of cold air swept into the room, spiraling with sinister whispers that echoed her thoughts. They were not safe. As she bolted toward the back door, the floorboards groaned beneath her, and a figure appeared in the doorway, looming larger and darker than before. "You were meant to find this place, Emily." The voice slithered through the air, a terrifying agent of her buried memories. Emily froze, dread pooling in her stomach. "Mommy!" Toby cried out, gripping her leg tightly. In that moment, Emily realized, some doors weren't meant to be opened. What memories lurked in the shadows, and could she ever confront the truth buried deep in her past? Emily's mind raced as dread clawed at her, tearing through her thoughts like a wild animal. The figure loomed closer, its outline sharpening in the flickering candlelight. She wasn't sure what she was more terrified of, the laughter echoing from the basement or the certainty that this shadowy stranger knew her. "Mommy! What's happening?" Lily cried, struggling against the panic that threatened to swallow them whole. "Stay behind me," Emily hissed, heart pounding in her chest. She pressed against the wall, feeling the rough texture scrape against her palms. The children clung to her, small fingers gripping her shirt. "Let me show you," the figure whispered, voice smooth yet jagged, slicing through the heavy stillness. In a moment of sheer instinct, Emily dashed to the right, pulling the kids with her. They made for the narrow hallway leading to the kitchen, a path illuminated dimly by the wan candlelight. Each creak of the floorboards underfoot sent a tremor of fear racing through her. "Which way, Mommy?" Toby's voice quaked, barely a whisper, brimming with confusion and horror. "Anywhere but here," Emily replied breathlessly. But the kitchen door was ajar, swinging in a slow, eerie rhythm as though beckoning them inside. She hesitated, glancing over her shoulder, the sinister laughter still bouncing off the walls, rebounding like a malicious echo. The figure remained motionless at the threshold, a dark silhouette, silent yet pulsating with a sense of dread. "We have to go," Emily urged, pulling her children into the kitchen despite the threat looming behind them. The faint scent of cooking oil mixed with something sweeter and wrought like dinner from long ago that had gone forgotten, just like the memories that plagued her. Inside the kitchen, she began scanning for an exit. The windows were locked tight, the glass grimy, reflecting only the flickering candlelight. With a deep determined breath, she searched for anything, a knife, a broom, something to defend or fight back. The monster outside, the figure that haunted her, edges closer. "Don't you want to remember?" It coaxed, voice lilting, inviting her into its dark embrace. A shiver danced down Emily's spine. She clenched her fists, ready to defend her children. "Mommy, I'm scared." Lily's voice broke her resolve, yanking Emily back from the edge of her own mind. "I know, baby, I'm scared too," Emily whispered fiercely. "But we'll be okay. We'll make it out." A sudden noise erupted from the back door, the unmistakable sound of a lock turning. Emily's heart leapt, adrenaline flooding her veins as she turned just in time to see the door swing wide, barely missing the grimy wall. A gust of frigid air rushed in alongside the figure. Emily froze, eyeing the open door that led to the outside world, the dark unknown that waited beyond. Was there safety beyond those walls, or was it just a deeper pit of despair? "Come to me, Emily," the figure crooned, stepping away from the door. "Don't you want your family back?" Her mind flashed with chaotic snippets of memory, a forgotten birthday, a twisted game, and laughter that tasted of ash and regret. Something deep within her screamed that she needed to run, but her feet felt glued to the ground. "Emily!" Toby's voice pierced through the fog of memory, snapping her back to the present. He tugged on her pant leg, eyes wide and pleading. "Mommy, I don't want to stay here." In that moment, clarity returned. She couldn't let this shadowy puppeteer pull their strings any longer. "Run!" Emily shouted, shoving her children toward the back door, her heart racing against the cacophony of laughter enveloping them. They bolted past the shadow, the door yawning open into the darkness of the yard, where the moonlight barely broke through the shroud of mist. And then, as they stepped outside, the laughter changed. It became a cacophony of despair, swelling into something wrathful. Emily felt energy charging through the air as a chill enveloped them, but the figure did not follow. Instead, it stood at the threshold, fading into the shadows as it called, "You can't escape your past, Emily." The night air felt heavy, as if the world itself was holding its breath. She turned to her kids, their faces illuminated by the moonlight, hope and fear dancing in their eyes. "What do we do now?" Lily asked, voice barely above a whisper. Emily surveyed the yard, narrowing her eyes at the distant tree line, the very place where their nightmares lurked, alive with shadows. Somewhere deep inside, she knew the answers awaited them there. "Now, we find out the truth," Emily said, voice steady yet quaking. As they took their first step into the oppressive darkness, Emily heard a voice, distant yet close enough to make her pulse quicken. "Welcome back, I've missed you." What awaited them in the tree line? Would they uncover the truth, or was it merely the beginning of their descent into deeper horror? As they plunged into the looming shadows, the air thickened, wrapping around them like a wet blanket. The moon hung high, casting a blurred glow over twisted branches that clawed at the night sky. Emily felt an electric pulse in the ground beneath her. Each step brought an overwhelming sense of foreboding, and whispers threaded through the leaves, teasing at the edge of her consciousness. "Mommy, I don't like this," Lily whimpered, her small hand trembling in Emily's grip. "Just keep close," Emily replied, forcing a calmness she didn't feel. She glanced back, half expecting the shadow to lurch forward, but it remained behind, a dark anchor tethered to their past. "Do you hear that noise?" Toby whispered, his voice barely audible above the rustling leaves. The laughter had transformed into a mournful howl, swirling around them like a smothering mist. It carried remnants of joy twisted into something grotesque. Emily steeled herself as they approached the edge of the trees where the darkness thickened, bound by the oppressive weight of forgotten memories. "Stay together," Emily ordered, pulling her children closer. The tree line felt alive, every crack and creak sounding like an unholy invitation. A chilling gust swept through the branches, causing the leaves to shudder, and for a moment, Emily could have sworn she heard voices in the wind. They whispered her name, "Emily, come play with us." It stirred a dread deep within, nagging at her subconscious, fragments of laughter echoing in her mind, the laughter of children. "Mommy, I want to go home," Lily's voice wavered, tears welling in her big hazel eyes. "Me too, babe. But we have to figure this out," Emily insisted, swallowing hard. She felt unmoored, as if every step they took further into the darkness pulled them away from reality. "Look!" Toby pointed, revealing a thin path woven through the trees. The ground was worn down, evidence of others who had ventured this way. "But where does it lead?" Emily asked, a bitter taste curling her tongue. "Mommy, it's okay, it's gonna be okay," Toby said, as if trying to convince himself. "Let us move," Emily urged, reigniting her determination. They stepped onto the narrow path, hugging the side like it was a lifeline. Just as they began to feel a bizarre sense of safety, the wind howled again, louder and more fiercely. "Why does it feel like someone's watching us?" Lily's voice trembled, her eyes wide, darting around as if expecting someone to jump out from the shadows. "Stay close," Emily whispered, nervously scanning their surroundings. The branches overhead twisted like clawed fingers, stretching toward them as though they wanted to snatch them back into the darkness. Suddenly, a piercing shriek shattered the stillness. They froze, hearts pounding, as the echo of terror rolled through the trees. It was a chilling wail of anguish that seemed to draw nearer, vibrating in their chests. "Run!" Emily shouted, grabbing her children by the hands. They sprinted down the path, the branches clawing at their clothes. She could feel the creeping shadows surge behind them, as if something had been unleashed, hungry and desperate, but then, as they reached a clearing, they stumbled upon a small clearing, illuminated by an abnormal glow emanating from a decrepit old swing set, rusted and worn. The swing swayed, creaking hugely as if moved by unseen hands. "Mommy? Why is it moving?" Lily's voice was a panicked squeak. Emily stepped forward, a feeling of dread crawling up her spine. "I don't know, but we need to go." A flash of memory washed over her, laughter, the feel of sunlight on her skin, the scent of ice cream on hot days. But it twisted, turning darker, the swing slamming forward with relentless force, children playing but fading into shadows. "What's happening?" Toby whimpered, pulling at her sleeve. Emily felt the ground tremble beneath them, shadows danced toward the swing set, their forms swirling and contorting in an air thick with despair. "Run! Now!" she screamed, yanking her children back as the laughter morphed into something more sinister. They turned to the path behind them, but it was swallowed by an expanse of darkness, too heavy to navigate. They were trapped, standing in the heart of their own horror. "Why did you come back?" The voice emerged again, deeper this time, building on the cacophony, swirling around them like a tempest. "Don't you remember?" Emily gulped, heart racing. This nightmare was far from over, and the truth was standing right in front of her. In that moment, a new realization hit her like a slap to the face. She would have to face her demons, or they would defeat her. What monsters lay ahead in the shadows? What would they reveal when the dawn broke, and would they be ready to confront the truth about their past? The swing creaked a haunting rhythm, each groan echoing with sorrow as if mourning something lost. Emily stood frozen, feeling terror radiate through her. The darkness curled around them like a living thing, suffocating and heavy. Her breath quickened, and she could feel the panic rising in her chest. "Mommy, I don't want to be here." Lily sobbed, small hands gripping her tightly as if trying to anchor themselves to reality. "I know, sweetheart. We're going to be okay," she replied, but her voice trembled, betraying her own fear. A low whistle carried on the wind, a chilling sound that slithered through the air, freezing Emily's blood. "Why does this feel so familiar?" Toby whispered, his eyes darting back to the shadows. "It's like a bad dream." Suddenly, the laughter returned, echoed and warped, rising and falling like the wind's anguished cry. It surrounded them, a cacophony of ghostly giggles, and for a heart-stopping moment, Emily felt as if they were no longer alone. The shadows seemed to pulse and sway, their forms merging with the darkness like liquid despair. "Run!" Emily screamed again, her resolve teetering on the precipice of fear. She grabbed her children's hands and yanked them toward the edges of the clearing, desperate to escape the unsettling presence that hovered like a storm cloud of dread, but as they moved, the echoes of the laughter transformed into a shrill chorus. "Stay! Play with us!" They sang, mocking and sweet, beckoning them back. Emily could feel the ground shift beneath her, the path seemed to narrow, twisting like a serpent waiting to strike. Then, in the chaos of sound and fear, a sudden silence fell. It was oddly calm compared to the relentless torment of moments before, and Emily's heart raced as she strained to listen. "Did you hear that?" Toby's voice quivered. "It's too quiet," Lily whispered, eyes wide, scanning the surrounding darkness where the shadows danced like phantoms waiting for a moment of folly. Before Emily could respond, shadows lunged toward them and out from the trees they emerged, an army of faint silhouettes, all children, with hollow eyes and wide smiles that twisted into grotesque caricatures of joy. Their forms flickered, as if they weren't entirely there, capturing the fleeting essence of laughter turned to sorrow. "Join us!" they cried, reaching out with arms that twisted and contorted, almost beckoning, almost pleading. "No! We need to get away!" Emily shouted, pulling her kids closer as the space around them thickened with an almost tangible dread. The children's laughter mingled with their wails, a tone that resonated in the deepest part of her mind, scraping against her sanity. It felt as if the very essence of the darkness around them wanted to consume them, to pull them into the tangled web of lost memories. But Emily could not let that happen. "This way!" She dragged them toward the thin path behind the swing set, every step now a leap of faith into the unknown. The shadows shrieked in protest, a chorus of tortured voices rising in a fearsome protest. With every stride she took, the darkness retaliated, adding pressure on her chest, squeezing out her strength. "Keep running!" she urged again, when out of nowhere, one child stepped too close, reaching for Lily. A flicker of recognition crossed its face, a mirror of innocence twisted into something dark, a reflection of what could be lost. Toby shouted, "Mommy! Help!" But just then, Emily skidded to a halt. The swing set pulsed with an eerie light, and she felt a pull drawing her in. The laughter surged again, encircling her like a tempest. Something deep inside urged her to look closer, to confront the memories chained to her. "You can't escape our games, Emily, you will remember." The voice of the darkness whispered, slithering over her skin. Caught between what was and what could be, she hesitated, battling the compulsion to face what she had long buried. What lay hidden in the shadows of her past? Would surrendering to the memories save her, or would it cost her everything? The pull was unbearable, an overwhelming force tugging at her very core. The swing's light flickered with an allure that beckoned Emily closer. "No! We can't stay," she shouted, straining against the invisible chains that threatened to bind her. The laughter crescendoed, clawing at her sanity. Suddenly, Lily's grip slipped from Emily's hand. "Mommy!" Lily cried out as she stumbled backward, her wide eyes reflecting pure terror. The shadows surged forward, greedy for innocence. "Lily!" Emily screamed, the world narrowing into a tunnel as panic took over. The children's faces around her morphed from playful to demonic, their laughter turning ugly and mocking. "Please, come back!" she begged, reaching out, but Lily was too far, caught in a whirl of shadows, caught in something ancient and horrifying. Ice gripped Emily's heart. Toby's face paled, and his hand tightened around her wrist. "We have to get her. We can't leave her." The shadows of the children twirled closer, their whispers becoming clearer, a siren's song. She can play with us forever. We just want to play. They advanced, their once innocent faces now placid and ghastly, pulling at Emily's resolve. No! She gasped, her spirit flaring with desperation. Forcing herself to look away from the grotesque forms, she focused on her son. Toby, we need to go. We can't look back. With every ounce of will left in her, she wrenched herself forward back toward the path, toward the way out, her heart pounding fiercely in rhythm to the drumming of the shadows chasing them. Each step was heavy, the ground sticky beneath her feet, as if it too wanted to pull them down into its depths. But echoes of Lily's cries filled the air, breaking her heart, gnawing at her conscience. Mommy! Help me! The sound twisted like a knife, a reminder of everything to lose. For a moment, doubt flickered, was she doing the right thing? In the chaos, a flicker of uncertainty reared its head. Lily! Toby shouted, releasing his hold on Emily, trying to turn back. Terror fanned into a blaze within her. No, Toby! We can't. We have to stick together. But her words were drowned under the laughter that rose again, louder now, more demanding. Join us. Join us. Forever. The voices mingled with rustling leaves, filling her ears, wrapping around her mind like a noose. Memory surged within her, sharp and painful. Images of a summer long past, of children playing beneath the very same swings, their lives just as vibrant and innocent until something terrible took them. Shadows danced in her mind, and dread clawed at her gut. Were they the same children? The ones who had never left, forever waiting, forever wanting? Mommy! Toby tugged at her arm, panic in his eyes, desperate to escape the grasp of the unseen horror closing in on them. With a burst of primal strength, Emily seized Toby's hand once more. Run! They bolted down the path together, the trees on either side leaning in, constricting their escape. Emily felt those chilling whispers chase them, crawling under her skin, reaching for her sanity and for her children. But as the path twisted ahead, a dreadful realization crashed upon her: it didn't matter where they ran. The darkness was everywhere. Look! Up ahead! Toby pointed to a sliver of light breaking through the trees, a promise of safety. The wild laughter surged once more, louder and hungrier. You can't escape us. The shadows lunged, their fingers stretching and reaching like wisps of smoke eager to snuff out a flame. Just as they neared the edge of the trees, the ground quaked beneath them. Emily stumbled, heart pounding, fear clawing at her throat. As the light beckoned, the path shifted and morphed, pulling them back into the clearing, into the very heart of the shadows. Mommy, please! Toby screamed. Emily's mind raced, torn between the desperate urge to flee and the horrifying pull of the memories she had locked away. What price would she pay for freedom? Would facing her past save Lily, or would it seal their fate? Stay with me, she whispered, steeling herself against the dark tide. The shadows coiled, eager for a reckoning, and as the swing set loomed before them, Emily knew, the final choice was about to come. What awaited them was no longer just a game but a desperate battle against the darkest corners of her reality. Would she confront the horrors of her past, or would she lose everything trying to escape? The laughter swirled into a frenzied cacophony, drowning out Emily's thoughts. Shadows writhed around the swing set, twisting and turning like a coil determined to snuff out every glimmer of hope. Emily's breath came in ragged gasps as she gripped Toby's hand tighter, her skin clammy with terror. Mommy, I can't breathe. Toby's voice quivered, panic creeping into his words. She cast a frantic glance at him, his innocent eyes wide and filled with fear. The weight of being a mother crashed down upon her like a tidal wave. Hold on. We will get through this. Her voice shook, but she fought to keep it steady. They edged closer to the clutches of that sliver of light, only for the ground to tremble again, a low, ominous rumble that seemed to echo from the darkest depths of the earth. The trees around them scraped and whispered, alive with a malicious energy. Shadowy tendrils reached out, trying to ensnare them, wispy fingers attempting to snatch Toby away. Emily yanked him back just in time, her own heart racing as she felt the chill of the darkness wrap around her ankles like a saran wrap. "Mommy!" Toby shrieked, his voice breaking, and in that moment, a guttural wail rose from the shadows. It was a chilling reminder of the hollow laughter, the very sound of lost souls. "Not my son! Get away from us!" Emily roared, surging forward with fury. She pulled Toby along with her, the illusion of safety flickering in the distance, just beyond her grasp. And then she saw it, a dark form materializing beyond the swings, a figure draped in shadow but unmistakably a child's shape. It stood still, eyes glowing like embers, and the chilling laughter grew quieter as its gaze locked onto Emily. "Play with us," it whispered, a voice both enticing and full of malice. "Lily," a breath escaped Emily, but she couldn't afford to be distracted. She felt the world holding its breath, the shadows undulating, readying themselves to feast. "No!" Emily shouted again, shaking her head fiercely. "Stay away." They had to keep running. Even a moment's hesitation could mean losing everything. But Toby hesitated, tugging at her hand. "Mommy, I think now." She jerked him forward, pulling him back onto the path. "We can't stop." But that haunting figure loomed in the corner of her vision, as if it were pulling threads of her resolve apart one by one. With the light still shining ahead, Emily stumbled onward, pure instinct driving her forward, terrified of what was behind but even more afraid of the darkness that could emerge from within. The laughter warped, echoing her fears. "Help us, Mommy." The words twisted and curled around her as if they were venomous vines seeking to ensnare her spirit. The air thickened, and a bitter wind sucked the warmth from her bones. As they neared the clearing, Emily felt that familiar tug of an unseen force. No. Not again. The realization hit her. The ground beneath them reeked of despair and regret. With every step, she felt it, a palpable, foul energy vibrating through her soles that whispered secrets best left unmemorable. Suddenly, the light flickered, as though the world behind it had been extinguished. Desperation surged through her veins. Emily pushed forward, determined for her children, for Lily. But as they burst through the final barrier of trees, her heart sank. The light was an illusion, an empty promise. The swing set sat in the center of a void, echoes of lost laughter swirling around them. A shadow surged, breaking from the trees, cloaked in a deeper darkness. It was enormous, towering above the swing set like a monster rising from a nightmare. "You wanted to play?" it rasped, a voice dripping with malice. Emily's breath caught in her throat. The overwhelming terror surged anew. "Toby!" She screamed, pulling him behind her instinctively, but the darkness smiled, and in its depths, Emily understood too late. The past had found them deep and treacherous. This wasn't just about Lily anymore. It was about all of them. Were they truly fighting to escape, or had they walked right into a trap? As that monstrous shadow moved closer, she felt the last pieces of her sanity beginning to unravel. It would consume them if they didn't act fast. "Run!" Emily thrust Toby forward. "Run and don't look back." But as they turned to flee, the haunting melodies of forgotten children enveloped them, the shadows reaching once more. Would they break free? Or would they join the chorus of the lost souls forever? The air felt thick with dread as Emily raced back toward the safety of the trees, pulling Toby along behind her while the shadows surged forward. The laughter twisted into cruel taunts, echoing in her ears, fueling her panic. "Find Lily. We have to find Lily," she cried, her voice breaking under the weight of fear. They stumbled through the underbrush, branches snapping underfoot as Emily fought the overwhelming sense of despair closing in. The swing set stood at the edge of a clearing, now an altar of nightmares, shadows writhing and swirling in front of her. "Mommy!" Toby called, his little face pale with fear. She felt a familiar tightening grip her heart. She had lost so much already, she wouldn't lose her children too. Stay close, she insisted, determination igniting within her. We have to keep moving. But another ear-splitting shriek tore through the air, and there at the edge of the trees stood the figure she loathed to recognize, Lily, her daughter, pale and trembling, eyes wide with terror. "Mommy!" she cried, reaching out as though caught in a web of darkness. "Lily!" Emily whispered, relief crashing into her like a wave, only to be met with dread as a monstrous shadow emerged, towering over the swing set. The very air vibrated with its wrath, and countless voices weaved through the shadows, mocking her resolve. "You've come home, Emily," it hissed, its voice a twisted echo from her forgotten past. "No!" Emily shouted, fighting the urge to let fear consume her. With Toby pressed against her side, they rushed toward Lily. "Grab my hand!" she yelled, reaching out. The moment Lily's fingers slipped into hers, a surge of warmth shivered through her. But they weren't safe yet. With each of them rooted together, the shadows curled closer, reaching and grasping with icy fingers. "You can't escape your choice," the figure roared, darkness pulsing and thrumming like a heartbeat, a predator with its prey cornered, taunting them with memories that clawed at Emily's mind. But in that moment of terror, clarity struck. "We're not playing your game anymore," Emily shouted, anchoring her will against the torrent of malice swirling around them. Memories surged within her, flashes of laughter, sunlight, children lost forever but fighting for recognition. "We choose to remember." The shadows recoiled, their forms flickering and writhing, startled by the sudden defiance. "What? No!" The spectral laughter fell silent now, replaced by a deep, guttural rumble, as if the very ground had turned against them. The monster faltered, its towering silhouette wavering under the weight of her resolve. "Together!" Emily urged, clutching her children tightly as they formed a circle of light against the unrelenting shadows. They stood strong, heartbeats synchronizing with her own, a rhythm of insistence. "Remember who you are," she cried out, heart racing but steady. Suddenly, a blinding flash exploded from the swing set, bathing the clearing in an ethereal light, the refuge of their past breaking forth, like a dam bursting. Images full of life flooded toward them, resonating with long-lost joy, transforming the shadows into fleeting whispers. As the light wrapped around them, Emily felt the heaviness of the darkness begin to lift. "We are family," she shouted, "and we will not be broken." The shadows shrieked in outrage, dissipating one by one, pulled back from the brilliance of their connection. In that moment, she understood, by acknowledging their shared past, they disarmed the darkness, dismantling the sinister grip it held. With one final roar, the figure collapsed into ethereal mist, its laughter drowned by a jubilant chorus of forgotten joy. The swing set flickered, now merely a playground bathed in moonlight, while shadows retreated into the night. Relief washed over her as she pulled her children into a hug. Their laughter rang out, airy and bright, echoing against the gentle wind. Emily knelt before them, tears slipping down her cheeks as she embraced Lily and Toby. "We did it," she breathed, a weight lifting from her soul. The air felt lighter, freeing them from the grip of terror. "Let us go home." Hand in hand, they turned away from Cursed Hollow, the remnants of their fears fading into whispers behind them. They stepped back into the light, every heartbeat a promise of new beginnings. As they walked home beneath the soft glow of streetlights, Emily could finally breathe deeply, a smile breaking through the fear that held them captive for far too long. Memories would linger, but they were hers to keep now, not chains, but threads woven into the fabric of their lives, and as the past settled behind them, somewhere deep within, she knew the shadows no longer held power. They had triumphed together, emerging from darkness into the light, and here, this is where her story found its resolution, a home filled with laughter, love, and an unwavering bond. Now listen up. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel right now, or you will miss more exclusive stories like this. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support for our journey together. I want to hear from everyone. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand how important it is to support the channel. Let's keep this community alive.